Hello, everyone. Welcome to Real English Voices, and thank you so much for tuning in today. It is such a pleasure to be back here behind the microphone with all of you.
It really is. Hello, everyone. I am so excited for today's topic because, honestly, Tom, this is something I struggle with almost every single day. I think most of our listeners do too.
I think you are right, Ria. Today we are talking about how to stop overthinking everything. And when we say everything, we mean everything. From that email you sent to your boss, to whether you lock the front door, to worrying about your grammar when you speak English.
The grammar worry is a huge one. I remember when I was first learning a second language, I would replay conversations in my head for hours. I would think, did I use the right tense? Did I sound silly? It was exhausting.
Exhausting is the perfect word for it. It drains your energy. It's like having a browser in your brain with 100 tabs open, and you can't find where the music is coming from.
That is such a good description. It feels exactly like that. You just want to shut down the computer, but the brain keeps running. So, Tom, let's start with the basics. What does overthinking actually feel like for you? Because for me, it usually happens at night.
The 3 a.m. club. I know it well. For me, overthinking feels like a loop. It's not just thinking about a problem, it's thinking about the problem, then thinking about why I'm thinking about the problem, and then judging myself for not solving the problem. It's a spiral.
Yes, the spiral. You start with one small thought like, oh, I forgot to buy milk. And 10 minutes later, you're thinking, I'm so disorganized, my life is a mess, I will never be successful.
Exactly. It escalates so quickly. And for our listeners learning English, I know this happens when you're about to speak. You have a sentence in your head, but before you say it, you analyze it. You check the vocabulary, you check the pronunciation, and by the time you're ready to speak, the conversation is moved on.
That is the worst feeling. You miss your moment because you are too busy trying to be perfect. And that's really the root of it, isn't it? Perfectionism. We think if we think enough, we can control the outcome and avoid making mistakes.
That is a profound point, Ria. We use overthinking as a shield. We think it protects us from failure, but actually, it just prevents us from living. It prevents us from connecting with people.
It does. I read somewhere that worry is like a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but it doesn't get you anywhere.
I love that quote. It's so true. You're moving back and forth, expending all this energy, but you're stuck in the same spot. So why do we do it? Is it just habit?
I think it's partly habit and partly fear. Fear of judgment, especially with language. We're so afraid that if we say something wrong, people will laugh or think we're not intelligent, so we overthink every word to stay safe.
But the irony is, when you overthink, you actually become less fluent. You sound robotic because you're not flowing, you're calculating. And people connect with flow, not calculation.
So true. When I hear someone speak English with a few mistakes, but with confidence and a smile, I enjoy talking to them. I don't care about the grammar. But if someone is terrified and pausing every 2 seconds to correct themselves, it makes the conversation stressful for both of us.
So, we need to learn how to let go, how to break that loop. But before we get into the solutions, let's take a quick moment to review some of the vocabulary we just used. This is important for your learning. Vocabulary review. Escalates, to become more intense or serious rapidly. Profound, very deep, meaningful, or insightful. Irony, when the opposite of what you expect happens.
Question for the listener. Do you find yourself overthinking more at night when you're alone or during the day when you're around other people?
Answer out loud to practice your speaking. Okay, we're back. I hope you answered that question out loud. Remember, speaking to yourself is great practice. So, Ria, let's talk about solutions. We know what overthinking is. We know it kills our confidence. How do we stop?
Well, the first thing that really helped me is realizing that my thoughts are not always facts. Just because I think I sounded stupid doesn't mean I actually sounded stupid. That's just a thought. It's not reality.
That's huge, separating thoughts from facts. I do this thing called the 5-second rule. It's a concept from Mel Robbins. If I have an impulse to do something, like speak up in a meeting or say hello to someone, I count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I just do it.
I love that. It cuts off the brain before it can start the excuses.
Exactly. It interrupts the pattern. If you wait longer than 5 seconds, your brain will flood you with reasons why it is a bad idea. It will say, oh, maybe my accent is too strong, or maybe they are busy. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
I have to try that more often. For me, another technique is what I call the best friend test. When I'm beating myself up over a mistake, I ask myself, would I say this to my best friend?
Oh, explain that. That sounds interesting.
Well, imagine your best friend comes to you and says, Ria, I made a mistake in English class today. I feel terrible. Would I say to her, yes, you are terrible. You should never speak again? Of course not. I would say, hey, it is okay. You are learning. Everyone makes mistakes.
So why can't we be that kind to ourselves?
Exactly. We are our own worst critics. We analyze our own behavior under a microscope, but we're so forgiving of others. We need to extend that same grace to ourselves.
I think that is especially important for language learners. You have to accept that you will feel awkward. Awkwardness is the price of entry for learning anything new. If you're not willing to feel awkward, you will never grow.
That reminds me of a story. A few years ago, I was traveling in Italy. I speak very little Italian. I went into a bakery and I wanted to order a specific pastry. I rehearsed the sentence in my head 10 times. I was overthinking it so much.
And what happened?
I got to the counter, I opened my mouth, and I completely froze. I forgot everything. I just pointed and smiled. And you know what? The lady smiled back, gave me the pastry, and said, Prego. It was fine. The world didn't end.
See? All that worry for nothing. The outcome was exactly the same as if you had spoken perfectly. You got the pastry.
And the pastry was delicious, but the lesson was that communication is about connection, not perfection. My overthinking was actually a barrier between me and the lady. Once I let go of the script and just used gestures and smiles, we connected.
That is such a good story. We often think people are judging us, but usually they just want to understand us. They're rooting for us.
They really are. Most people are kind. And here's another thing, Tom. Most people are too busy thinking about themselves to judge you.
That is the spotlight effect, right?
Yes, we walk around thinking there's a spotlight on us and everyone is watching our every move. But in reality, everyone else is walking around thinking the spotlight is on them.
That is actually very liberating. It means you are free to make mistakes because people probably won't even remember them 5 minutes later.
Exactly. Think about a time a friend made a small grammar mistake. Do you remember it? Do you think less of them? No, you probably understood what they meant and moved on.
I can't even remember a specific mistake my friends have made, but I can remember every mistake I have made since 1995.
Right, and that proves the point. We hold on to these things, but nobody else does, so we need to just drop the baggage.
Dropping the baggage sounds nice, but it is hard. What about when the overthinking is about the future, the what ifs? What if I fail the exam? What if I don't get the job?
The what if game. That is a dangerous game. I like to flip it. Instead of asking, what if it goes wrong, I force myself to ask, what if it goes right?
I like that shift.
Because your brain is just a prediction machine. It tries to predict danger to keep you safe, but you can train it to predict success. What if I ace the exam? What if I get the job and love it?
And even if the worst happens, let's look at that. Suppose you do fail the exam. Will you survive?
Yes, you will be disappointed, sure, but you will survive. You can take it again. It is rarely a life or death situation. Overthinking makes everything feel like a catastrophe.
Let's pause there for a second. We've covered some deep psychological concepts here. I want to make sure our listeners are following along with the vocabulary. Pause for 10 seconds.
That is a physical connection people forget. If you are tense, your vocal cords are tight. Your breathing is shallow. You cannot project your voice. So relaxation is actually a pronunciation technique.
I never thought about it that way, but you are right. So stop overthinking to improve your accent.
Exactly. Tom's tip of the day. But Ria, I want to go back to something you mentioned earlier, being present. Because overthinking is usually about the past or the future. It is rarely about right now.
Yes, mindfulness. I know it's a buzzword and people hear it all the time, but it works. When I find my brain running a marathon, I try to focus on just one sensory thing,
Like what? Give us an example.
like the feeling of my feet on the floor, or the smell of my coffee, or really listening to the person talking to me, looking at their eyes, rather than planning my response.
That active listening is crucial. If you're overthinking your response, you're not listening. And if you're not listening, you cannot respond naturally. It's a vicious cycle.
It is. To have a real conversation, you have to be in the moment. You have to trust that the words will come. And if the exact word doesn't come, another word will. Or you can describe it.
The thing you use to open the door.
Exactly. If you forget the word key, you say, the metal thing for the door, and people understand. But if you freeze because you're searching for the word key, the conversation stops.
Circumlocution. That is the fancy word for describing a word you don't know. And it is a sign of fluency, not failure.
I love that. Describing a word you don't know is a sign of fluency. That takes so much pressure off. You don't need to be a dictionary, you just need to be a communicator.
So let's get practical for this week. I want to give our listeners a challenge, a stop overthinking challenge. What should it be?
Okay, how about this? For the next week, try the 5-second rule we talked about. If you have an opportunity to speak English or to do something you're nervous about, count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and do it before you can think.
I like that. And maybe add one more thing. If you make a mistake, celebrate it.
Celebrate a mistake?
Yes, literally say, woohoo, I made a mistake, because it means you tried. It means you pushed your limit. If you're not making mistakes, you're staying in your comfort zone, and nothing grows in a comfort zone.
That is a beautiful perspective. Make a mistake and smile. It changes the energy completely. It tells your brain, I am safe. This is not dangerous.
And speaking of safety, I want to address the social media aspect of overthinking, because scrolling through Instagram or TikTok can really trigger that comparison game.
Oh, absolutely. You see people posting their perfect lives or other English learners who seem to speak perfectly, and you start thinking, I am so far behind.
But you're seeing their highlight reel. You're not seeing the 50 takes they filmed before they got that perfect video. You're not seeing their script.
We compare our behind the scenes with everyone else's highlight reel. It's not a fair comparison. So maybe part of the challenge is to catch yourself when you're comparing.
Just notice it. Say, oh, I'm comparing myself again. That's not helpful. And put the phone down.
Tom, do you ever get nervous before we record these podcasts? Do you overthink these episodes?
Honestly, sometimes I think, will this topic be interesting? Will I have enough to say? But then I remember that it is just a conversation with you, Ria, and it is a conversation with our listeners. It doesn't have to be a performance. It just has to be real.
And that is why we call it Real English Voices, because we want to be real, not perfect. Real.
I think that is the key takeaway today. Real is better than perfect. Authentic is better than polished.
And letting go is better than holding on. It feels lighter.
Before we wrap up, let's do one final check on some of the harder words we used in this last section. It's good to see them again to help them stick in your memory. Vocabulary review. Circumlocution. Using many words where fewer would do, especially in a deliberate attempt to be vague or evasive, or in language learning, describing a word you don't know. Authentic. Of undisputed origin, genuine, being true to yourself. Vicious cycle. a sequence of reciprocal cause and effect in which two or more elements intensify and aggravate each other. Question for the listener. Think of a situation this week where you stayed in your comfort zone. What is one small thing you could do tomorrow to step out of it? We are back for our final thoughts. I hope you have a plan to step out of that comfort zone tomorrow, even if it's just asking a stranger for the time or posting a comment in English on a YouTube video.
Yes, commenting is a great way to start. In fact, why don't you comment on this video? Tell us one thing you overthink. Get it out of your head and write it down.
Writing it down is like exercising the demon. Once it's on paper or on the screen, it has less power over you.
Tom, this conversation has actually helped me today. I was worrying about a few things earlier, but talking about it has reminded me to just breathe and take it one step at a time.
I'm glad, Ria. It helped me too. It's a good reminder that we're all in this together. No one has it all figured out. We're all just figuring it out as we go.
And that is okay. So, to our listeners, be kind to yourselves this week. Catch those negative thoughts, flip them to positive ones, and use that 5-second rule.
Don't let your thoughts be the enemy of your action. Action is the cure for overthinking. Just do.
Just do. And keep speaking. Your voice matters. Your stories matter. Don't hide them behind a wall of worry.
Thank you so much for spending this time with us. We appreciate every single one of you listening.
We really do. Have a wonderful, worry-free week, or at least a week with a little less worry.
That's a good goal. Less worry, more living. See you next time on Real English Voices.
Bye, everyone. Keep practicing.
Take care.